Hey, morning, folks. Thanks for joining us for the next committer and computer hangout here. So yeah, you can see I'm recording this from home. Anyways, it's great having you here. And I got talking to a few projects a couple weeks ago. Just some pretty candid conversations about some of the things that they would want, the things that perhaps that they would like to see a bit more of. And so this is sort of this talk comes out of that. And so one of the things I heard back from a few projects was, hey, we know we have to make changes, and that's great. We don't mind. We come to the Eclipse Foundation, but it'd be kind of great if there was a list or something up front that sort of spell out some of these changes for us, so we're a little more prepared and can kind of plan how we're going to make those changes. And so this is where this comes out of. So this is really about changes your project may have to make to keep coding when it comes to the Eclipse Foundation as a project. Uh, so when you come to the Eclipse Foundation, there's a few adjustments. There's our policies and procedures you need to follow, and everyone understands that it's for the greater good of the project, and they're not actually that onerous at all, really. And so for the most part, any adjustments your project has to make, they're pretty easy to implement, and I'm sure in most cases, you're already doing most of this anyways, right? So this talk will just sort of be a quick, really quick overview of some of the what I categorize as major development themes, and we'll talk about each of those. But first, I really want to have a quick overview of something that really influences our technical decisions here at the Foundation, and that is freedom of action. And you'll hear that you certainly hear that a few times. And really, what that boils down to is that we need to ensure that anything we provide to folks and be an external service. So, say for instance, GitHub won't be affected. They won't affect a project if that service was to, for instance, there would be no interruption to the project's development, right? And so that's something that's really critical to us in how we think about what we do. And so it really influences a lot of our technical decisions. We'll talk about. This freedom of action it is really important. So with that in mind, and I do understand there's a lot of information here. There's lots of questions. So there'll be links posted at the end, like from all the Hangouts in the links section. Likewise, get in touch with myself or Wayne Beaton. So we both watch the EMO inbox. So it's emo@eclipse.org, and we can point you to some additional documentation. We can answer, help you walk through your questions, and get it sorted out. Okay, so I've broken this down by major development theme, and so let's start off with the good old repository. So you'll need to be using Git, and I'm pretty sure you already are. So I just want to make that pretty explicit. So GitHub, we support that too. Awesome. So if you're using GitHub currently, you'll need to transfer your code repository over to us. Not that hard. And so then your project will be hosted on one of our GitHub organization pages. So if you went to github.com/eclipse or github.com/locationtech, you'll see some of the projects that are listed there. So another really important piece, is your bug/issue tracker. So we're Bugzilla based. So if you're using anything other than Bugzilla, you're going to just switch over and use our Bugzilla instances. So it's really up to you how you want to deal with the project bugs that are on your other tracker at the moment. What we do ask is that any ongoing work happens in our Bugzilla instances. So with that in mind, it's really up to you. Do you want to move over your historical bugs, your current bugs? But any work that you're starting from the project onwards needs to be on our instances. So you have a bit of flexibility in how you want to deal with the past bugs. So we don't support GitHub issues yet. It's something we hear a lot of projects really asking. And just to let everyone know, we are working on a solution for that. So hopefully that'll be not too far down the road that we'll have that up for you guys. Communicating with your community. So we're mailing list and form oriented. So I'm sure you're already using forums elsewhere or mailing lists elsewhere to discuss project development, answering questions, etc. So we create mailing lists for your project when you get provision. So when we provide you with download servers, get repositories, we'll also create a variety of mailing lists too that you ask for. And so what we'd ask is that you direct your community to start using and discussing the project on our mailing lists. So you need to ask your community to subscribe to the new mailing lists. We don't auto-subscribe folks, so they have to do it themselves. Build infrastructure. So if you're using continuous integration, we use Hudson. Okay, developers. So we're very specific in this. We categorize developers into two distinct terms that we use. So we don't use the term developer at the foundation. What we use is committers or contributors. So contributors, really, they're the only ones that are able to push bits to your repository, right? So they agree to abide by our committer due diligence guidelines. They're elected to a specific project. So when on your project proposal, you'll have your project leads. You'll also list out all the project committers. And so when we provision the project, all the project committers that are listed on the proposal, when they complete the proper and necessary paperwork, they'll automatically be elected as committers on the project. So in the future, if you wanted to add more committers, you would basically just run another election, and it's quite easy to do through our management infrastructure. And so when I say elected, really all that is that you would basically have a merit statement saying, person A has demonstrated, the following, or they've shown this, or they've contributed this type of work, and they deserve to be a committer. And you run the election, then every current committer on the project basically gives them a +1, and then the PMC gives them a +1. It's fairly quick. It's really, really quick, as long as all the other the current project committers give them their +1. Really quick. So, like I say, they have full access to write access to the Eclipse Foundation type resources. So the project website, download servers, build servers, IPzilla, which I'll talk about in a little bit here. So contributors. So contributors contribute code to a project. So you can think about contributors giving you a pull request. That's probably the best way to think about it. So that a bug fix, or they've couple of new feature that they've pushed to you. So they don't have commit access to a project's repositories at all. So a committer actually has to look at what the contributor's providing, keeping in mind the due diligence guidelines of how they handle code contributions. Right. All of our contributors have to sign a committer license agreement, and so contributors become committers. Right. You start submitting patches, they start bringing new features, they start building their merit, making it easier to say why this person should become a committer on the project. So just a quick couple of notes about access. So if you have an Eclipse account, has read access to everything, with the exception of our build server and IPzilla. So kind of moving on to the administrative side of things. So we'll leave the technical behind for now. So most projects know when they come to the Eclipse Foundation as a project that they have to follow our processes and policies. And I'm just going to have a really quick talk about what some of them are. And like I said, there's links in that at the end. There's too much detail in all these. We could certainly do for every topic I previously covered and the ones we're going to do here. We could certainly do another Hangout about, and I think that's the direction that we're moving in. So the Eclipse development process, or the EDP. So let's think of this as our overall guidelines for projects at the foundation. Spelling out, what the responsibilities and obligations are, how folks are involved. It's definitely a document that you need to be really familiar with, and I'll leave that as part of your homework to have a quick look over. The second one that's really crucial is the IP due diligence. So this defines how code contributions are handled, how code is tracked for your intellectual property, how third-party libraries are handled, legal reviews, distribution of code, binaries. It is a really crucial document. That combined with the EDP, I think they are certainly the core that projects really need to understand. And like I say, if you have any questions about either of these after reading them, get in touch with myself or Wayne Beaton at the EMO at eclipse.org, and we'll go from there. The other thing administratively is contribution questionnaires. So these are just basically bug tickets that that are a mechanism for managing and tracking the intellectual property that goes into your project. So your project code, anything that you're developing, third-party libraries that your project needs. So we need to be able to track all the intellectual property that goes into a project. Any specific version that you're planning to release. So we can look back and say, okay, this is the source code came from. This is all the contributors that submitted. This is the third-party libraries. Really, really crucial. So CQs are the interface between your project code and the Eclipse Foundation IP team. So you interact with the Eclipse Foundation IP team through the CQs. When you submit, you'll say, for instance, your initial contribution. We'll talk about that a little bit. So this is your projects come over. This is your first snapshot of your code that you're going to have the IP team review. So you create an initial CQ. You'll attach the source code, and the IP team will basically be back and forth with yourself, with questions about that particular code. Same with third-party libraries. So you want to use a particular third-party library, say JClouds from Apache. So you say, okay, I want to use JClouds, this third-party library. So you'd open a CQ for that, attach the code. You go back. You'd have your discussion back and forth with the IP team. Yeah, so it's definitely another really critical component to be able to track everything that you're submitting, that your project wants to use in terms of intellectual property. Release reviews. So this is how you really make your project download bits available to your consumers. So I'm sure most projects have a release cycle they follow. We have quite some guidelines around how this happens and what's required. We can get a little more detail for that. If you go to projects.eclipse.org, you'll see a link. You'll see a table of all the upcoming releases that are going out right now. And so it's probably a good place to have a quick gander. Click on the links, take a look around. Like I've been working on that this morning, is getting the release reviews in place for quite a few projects. So have a poke around at that. And so the reason we have release reviews is for three really important reasons. Is they summarize what the project has added, fixed, removed, so everyone's aware of what's happening. So release 1.5.0 contains the following fixes. Its purpose is the following. So everyone knows that. The real crucial part is that all the IP policy has been followed and all the approvals have been received. So you go do a release, you say I want to do a release on this particular date, we schedule a release review, you submit an IP log, which is all the intellectual property that's in that project. It gets looked over and reviewed by the IP team, it gets approved. Now this is the big, it's really just a checkpoint that we need to make sure that everything is okay from an IP cleanliness standpoint before we can allow anything to be distributed outside from the Foundation's servers. And it's really to ensure that to verify that the project continues to operate according to our principles and purposes. Does the project leads, do they understand the EDP? Are they following the EDP? Are they following the requirements of the release review? Are they following the IP due diligence? So it's lots of checks and balances. For the most part, they're a breeze. Actually, they're more of an administrative thing for us. As you basically say, folks, I want to release on September 23rd. September 30th, for instance. We would say, okay, great. Our next release slot is September 24th. Can you provide your IP log? Can you make sure there's some release documentation? Now, this is quite easy to do. Can you get approval on this from your PMC? And then that's it. And release day comes, we look at it, give it the +1, and then you continue on with release. It's really, really easy. So I've talked about release reviews, and I think there's a little bit of a caveat. So they're only needed for major and minor changes to your code base. So major would, for instance, would be an API breakage, but both of them really encompass that you've added new features to the code base. So if you do a service release or a bug fix only, you don't need to do a release review with us at all. Just just out you go with that. So we have 2 scheduled release slots per month, and this comes down from the foundation board. Now, having said that, we have 2 release dates. We're really accommodating and flexible to make sure that the projects that want to release make those dates. We will work incredibly hard to make sure that you can make those dates. So, like I said, there's a lot here. I've really just skimmed the surface of a few things, but it's really kind of like here, heads up on some of the technical, some of the administrative, and my real goal is like I said at the beginning, was having talked to projects, the one sort of list of some of the major technical changes, some of the administrative things. So I really hope this answers some of your questions, gets the conversation going. That's really the intent here. So, like I say, at the end of this, I'll have the link section to the script questions and stuff that I've had laid out. So that'll be there. I'll also post this up on our wiki, and so projects may be made aware of that. So, like I said, it's kind of short and sweet. It's Friday. I think that's kind of the way to be. Short and sweet, right to the material. So if you have any questions, your best point of contact is with the EMO. So myself and Wayne Beaton, who's the director of open source at the Eclipse Foundation, watch that box daily. So get in touch with any questions you have. Anything you're not sure about, reach out to us. So again, that's emo@eclipse.org. The other great thing that we're running is office hours. So it's every Thursday at 10:30 Eastern time, and I'll post the link for that too. We do office hours. It's half hour, phone in. You have questions, we have answers, or we'll find you the answers, and it's another way to kind of get in touch. So I look forward to your comments. Look forward to your emails, folks. Anyways, have yourself a great weekend. Really look forward to talking to you guys in about 2 weeks' time. And all right, have a great weekend, folks. All right, bye.